Well, hello friends. Here I am and I wanted to show you some beautiful cards that I made using this vellum sheet. I'll show all the cards at the end that I've done. So what I did is I picked up this beautiful sheet by 13 Arts, and it is a vellum piece of paper. Now you could definitely do this technique on your own, just using vellum and then stamping with a black archival, a black StazOn permanent ink, and then doing the alcohol ink on the back of it. But because it's pre-printed, I was able to do the alcohol inks on the front of this page. So what I did is I took this and I cut it apart, and I basically got 6 different clusters of magnolias and leaves and flowers to put onto the front of 6 different cards. So I'm going to show you how I did that. So cut that out, and then I chose some alcohol inks out of my tray. Oh, they're right here that match my card. I already had them set out, my goodness. And so because of this color combination, for the leaves, I chose to use Mermaid. And then for the flowers, the magnolias, I used Denim and Amethyst alcohol inks. So I've just got a brush from the dollar store, really cheap little brushes that I've used. And I take just a little bit of the alcohol ink and put it onto my glass mat. And I've got my craft paper over here just so the glare is not too bad. But I love the mat, the glass mat, because I put the alcohol ink right onto it. So I'm just putting a drop onto there and then taking the brush and loading up the alcohol ink onto the brush and then just painting it right onto the vellum. And some alcohol inks, and I think it depends on like how old they are really thirsty. Like they're really dry, and I found them like hard to kind of move around. And then the next color I used was really easy and it moved around no problem. So I'll show you what I did here. Just gonna, basically I just used paint and I painted it. So when it got really dry like this, I just have a little bit of rubbing alcohol in a spray bottle, and I often use this with my alcohol inks. And so I just put a little dab of the rubbing alcohol onto there, and the color isn't as concentrated as dark, but it's still really lovely. It's still very pretty. Now I pre-cut this image out. I'm going to just add a little bit of that in there because it's really pretty, that lighter purple. I pre-cut this out just so that I can make the card pretty quickly, but most of the time when I'm doing this, I just kind of cut them out like a rough kind of general image, and then I paint it, and then I actually fussy cut it with the details after. And you'll notice here on the edges, I'm really not worried if I get some of the alcohol ink over the image of the fussy cutting. I'm not going for super precise and perfect. So I'm going to add a little bit more alcohol, rubbing alcohol over here. Swirl that up and then add that. So you can see it's a really fast technique because I'm not too worried about the edges along this top kind of part of the flower. Now down here where there's some white vellum that I'm not going to cut out, I'm going to be a bit more careful around there. Okay, so I didn't do the stems and I didn't do the branch, but I've done the first color, which is the amethyst. So now I'm gonna, and it's already dry because it's alcohol ink and it dries super fast. So now I'm gonna take some of the denim and put a little dollop there and do the same thing with my brush, pick it up. And now I'm gonna just take and just dab a little bit of that on to the bottom. I'm kind of like adding a little bit of shading is basically what I'm doing, just by kind of dabbing on just a little bit of the denim, just a little bit of the blue, kind of give it some depth in here, kind of in here, in my tips, kind of smoothing that out. Okay, it's getting pretty dry, so I'm going to add a little bit of rubbing alcohol, just a little drop. And it's going quite purple because the brush is touching the purple alcohol ink that's already on the vellum. So you have to be careful for the colors to not bleed onto each other too much, okay? So just a little bit in there. I didn't want too much of that blue, but I just wanted to shade it a little bit. I love how it turned out. So I'm going to close my lids. Oh, and just a little tip. I love to share this. I take just a piece of cardstock or a photo paper and I put just a dollop of that alcohol ink onto it. Then once it's completely dry, I hole punch it out and then I glue the hole punched color piece on the lid so that when I'm looking at my tray of alcohol inks like this, I can see all the different colors that I have and I can quickly grab them. So I can kind of keep all the blues and greens and purples together. So great little tip there for your ink. Okay, and then the last one is the mermaid. And so I'm going to just do a small dollop there. And so this mermaid one, I'm going to do just the bottom. And again, I'm going to kind of just paint the stems where I've got it cut out. So I'm not too worried about it looking absolutely perfect. I'm kind of just filling it in there with the alcohol ink, kind of making it kind of watery looking. Just add it around. If I kind of made a mistake, just add it, make it look like it wasn't a mistake. It's super pretty. Okay, so there you go. There's that beautiful image. That's as quick as it is to do this technique with the vellum and alcohol inks, which I love, love, love. You know, it's nice to sometimes like Copic color and do things that take a lot of time, but it's also nice sometimes just to have a really quick, beautiful finish. So now I'm going to take my card front. And so what I've done is I've cut my card. So it's actually a 12-inch piece that I folded in half, and then it's 4 inches across. And then I cut my floral piece to go on the front. So it's 3 7/8 by 5 7/8. And then I just used my hot glue gun to attach some lace and some ribbon and this little black border, and then a 1-inch trim there and a couple little pieces here. So basically I did that ahead of time so it'd be really quick because that part's pretty easy for you to do. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to place it on top. And so it's a little bit wet. And so typically I would kind of leave it for, 10, 15 minutes, but I wanted to finish the card and show it to you. So I've cut out this thank you, which is this beautiful set. I love how Waffle Flower does these dies and matching stamps. It's interesting. I often don't use this big stamp, but I need to practice at that and get better at that. But I love the large die and then all the little sayings that match it. And so I'm using the thank you one for this. So I've already got foam squares on the back of my thank you, and I take the small white foam squares and I cut them into smaller chunks so that they'll go onto my word and you won't see them. And then for my magnolia, I'm going to use Distress Collage Medium in matte, which is my absolute favorite, and I use it for just about everything. It dries clear, so when I put it in behind here on the vellum, it will dry clear, and that's exactly what I want. So it's kind of curling it up. So I'm going to place this on, and I'm going to kind of have it coming up and off of my card like so. And then before I press it down and kind of totally decide, I'm going to take my thank you and also put it on there and just make sure that it's not covering up too much of the magnolias, but it's highlighting them. So I think that looks pretty fantastic right there. And then I'm going to take my thank you and press it down as well. And then here's a little tip of what I like to do. I use a large stamp block and I just put that right over top like that, press that down, and then just set that aside and let that dry. Okay, so that was how easy it was to make this fantastic card. Now to finish it off, what I did, and I've got a whole bunch of them. So off of that sheet, like I said, I got 6 different magnolias. Some that the magnolia went this way, some that were just leaves and magnolias and roses I put together. This one with the circle just went up and went down. And then this one here was a magnolia with 3, and I added a little bit just to extend it. Oh, and then here's the 5th one. And so this was a magnolia going off that direction. So once I had kept it under the block for like 5 or 10 minutes, let that dry, then I took it out. And what I did is I put them on a tray, and I've used this tray for years and years and years. And it has a piece of the craft paper in behind it. And then I just put a piece of paper towel on it. And I put my card inside there, and then I used the splatter brush by Tim Holtz and splattered on a little bit of the black paint on there just to finish it off. So that is, this way I can keep the splatter from getting all over my desk, which I have done many a times and still do. So there is this beautiful card set done with the purple and the black and the white. Just absolutely love it. But I also wanted to show you using the exact technique of what I did. Oh, and I had all these leftover butterflies and flowers from this paper set. So I added stuff to the inside, which I don't always do, but I was trying to just use it all up so that I wasn't sticking it all in recycling. I'm gonna just put that away. So I wanted to show you, so this card set, it's the exact same sheet from 13 Arts. I always want to call it 3 Arts. 13 Arts, exact same sheet set, but I used different alcohol ink colors. And I used the waffle flower stamp die set that says hope. And so for that one, I used just softer colors. And then I used the Meadow alcohol ink. And I used pink sherbet. And I used Mountain Rose. And so those 3 colors, I just the exact same technique. And then this time I splattered the front with white paint instead of black. So I hope you're inspired to try out the vellum and some alcohol ink, and thanks for watching.